In the previous session, we generally got familiar with the AutoCAD software environment. We started with the line command and the erase command, drew some lines, and then deleted them. In this part, we want to work with the Polyline command, and we'll also take a look at the ribbon at the top of the software. We'll try to proceed mostly using the tools available in the ribbon, but we'll do everything using the keyboard instead of clicking on the menus, because that's a very unprofessional way to work. So we'll move forward based on the ribbons and menus, but we'll operate using the keyboard. Let's continue with the rest of the tutorial. If you watched the previous video, you definitely know that we use the line command to draw lines, and we use the erase command to delete them. But there's another command that also draws lines. Actually, not just one. There are quite a few commands in AutoCAD that can draw lines, but one of them is the Polyline command, which we're going to review now. I'll also talk about another command at the end of the video so you can get familiar with it, even though we won't be using it much. So the shortcut for the Polyline command is PL. That means I just need to type PL, click once somewhere on the screen, and everything is ready. As you can see, I typed PL down there and pressed enter. The first thing it asks me is to specify the starting point. I click on a point here, and just like the line command, it asks me to specify the next point, and I keep drawing the line like this. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference between this and the line command? Well, the line command does the same thing, but there are two main differences. The first main difference is that if I use the line command, that is by pressing L, and draw several lines and then compare them, you'll see that the lines I drew with line can each be selected individually. That means the lines are not continuous, they're separate. But with the Polyline command, you can draw continuous lines. So now if I click on one of these lines, all of them are selected together. Therefore, Polyline draws continuous lines, while line draws disconnected or separate lines. Now, there's another difference as well. With the line command, you can only draw straight lines, but with the Polyline command, you can draw both straight lines and arcs. You can draw both. For now, I'm just drawing so you can see, but later I'll explain how I'm doing it. I type PL, press enter, and start drawing. Whenever I want to draw an arc, I just need to enter its arc subcommand and draw the arc. Whenever I want to draw a line again, I just need to enter its line subcommand and draw the line. So it can draw both arcs and lines. Now that we're familiar with the main differences between Polyline and line, and we understand the purpose of Polyline, let's take a closer look at how Polyline works. I type PL and press enter and start drawing. Whenever you want to continue with an arc, just enter the arc subcommand. That is, type A and press enter. I mentioned in the previous session why you need to type A, because it's the capital letter. So you start drawing your arc, and there are different methods for that, which we'll discuss. And whenever you want to draw a line again, just enter the line subcommand. You see here it's the line subcommand. So of course you know you need to type L and press enter. Why? Because its capital letter is L. So I type L and press enter, and I can draw my regular line again. All right, let me delete this again. How was it done? Here, I would click, open a window, and press delete, or I would type E and press enter, which means the erase command. All right, PL enter, I click again and start drawing, and now, for example, I want to draw an arc, right? So again, here I type A and press enter and start drawing the arc, but here it has a series of subcommands. In fact, there are different methods for drawing an arc. Well, one method is the center method, which allows you to specify a center and draw your arc relative to that center. For example, here, what should I press? I need to press C and E because both C and E are capital letters. So I type CE and press enter. For instance, I say, okay, there was a point here and the starting point is also here, so I click a point here. That means relative to this center, it will draw the arc for me. Look what happens. From this point, relative to this center, it's drawing the arc. Now, for example, I click here perpendicular to this direction, and the arc is drawn very easily. Well, the next method is the direction method. With this, you can set a direction and draw your arc relative to that direction. For example, suppose I want the arc I draw next to be tangent to the vertical direction, tangent to the y-axis. So here I enter the direction command, and it asks me to select a point in the direction I want. I click somewhere along this vertical direction. Now, if I move my mouse to the left or right, you can see that it's curving relative to this vertical direction. In fact, it draws the arc in such a way that at its starting point, it's tangent to the vertical direction, like this. Now, I'll talk about the half width and width options later. It's not the time for that yet. For now, let's go to the radius subcommand. With the radius, you can draw an arc with a specific radius. For example, I enter the radius command and it asks with what radius do you want to draw. Now you can either enter a number for the radius, or in AutoCAD, whenever it asks you for a value in any command, you can either enter a number or specify it with 2 clicks. For example, here I want to say the radius should be from here to here. What does that mean? The length of this line between these 2 points becomes the radius of my arc. So I click here and now you see the arc it's drawing has a radius exactly equal to the distance between the 2 points I clicked. Now this is the next point, and wherever I want, for example, along the horizontal direction, I select here. The radius from here to here is exactly the same as the 2 points I specified. Now the second PT subcommand is the same as second point. The second point is based on the mathematical rule that from any 3 points that are not on a straight line, you can draw an arc. Now I have 1 point and another point is the one I'm on right now. If I go into second PT, it asks me for the second point, which is a point on the arc. So I come here and it asks, where is your second point? I say, for example, I bring the mouse over this arc, it shows the center, and I click on the center. Got it? So the first point is here, the second point is here, and where do you want the third point to be? For example, I want the third point to be here. So with 3 points, I'm drawing my arc. This is the third point. Okay, these were the subcommands related to drawing an arc. And as I said before, if you want to draw a line, you enter the line mode. I'm entering the line mode now, enter. Okay, I also told you that I would explain the half width and width to you as well. I want to explain this to you with an example. Look, I'm exiting the command. As I said in the previous session, by pressing ESC, you can exit the command. I press ESC and exit the command. Okay, suppose I want to draw an arrow. To draw an arrow, I enter the Polyline command. PL, enter. I define the starting point. I say, for example, let the starting point be here. I clicked once. So what does it tell me? It says to specify the next point. But before I specify the next point, I want to define the line width. I enter the width subcommand by pressing W. I press W. Okay, now it asks me what thickness do you want at the starting point? I say I want the thickness to be, for example, a certain number. Let's say the thickness is 10. I enter 10, press enter. It asks, what do you want the thickness at the end of the line to be? I say let that be 10 as well. So start is 10, end is also 10. Now again, I position myself in the same direction. What length do I want to draw the line? For example, with a length of 50, so I enter 50 and press enter. It drew a line with a length of 50, where the thickness at both the start and end points is 10. Now, I go back into the width subcommand. It asks, what should the thickness be at the starting point? I say let it be 20, then press enter. It asks, what should the thickness be at the end point? I say let it be 0. Now all you need to do is stand again along this direction and give it another value, for example 5. See what happens? Now 5 was too little for it, so let me give it a bit more. One more time, W, enter, and at the start 20, and at the end 10, at the end 0. Okay, again, what length should I give it? For example, I set its length to 20. The length of this line is a test, meaning from the tip of this arrow to the end of the arrow. See, the arrow was drawn this easily. One line with a length of 50 with a starting thickness and an ending thickness of 10. Another line with a length of 20 with a starting thickness and an ending thickness of 20 and 0. Of course, let me tell you, this will remain an arrow as long as it's a polyline. What does it mean for it to be a polyline? At the beginning of this video, I said it needs to be continuous, meaning it should be a single piece. If you take it out of this continuous state, it won't remain like this anymore. Now, how do we take it out of this continuous state? In future videos, I will explain the command for that. But at the end of this video, I want to talk about another topic related to lines. I'll introduce 2 or 3 more types of lines, so you can practice those as well. Okay, the first command I want to introduce to you. First, let me tell you, up here in the menu section, the Polyline command I just explained to you, this is the second command. In the previous session, we worked on the line command, and in this session, we worked on the Polyline command. So now the question is, what other drawing commands are there? We have a lot of drawing commands, but the ones that might be useful for you, one of them is the ray command, R-A-Y. I type this and press enter, then I pick a starting point, click here, and now look, it's infinite, meaning it continues endlessly in one direction. Now all you have to do is click. For example, I click along the horizontal direction, then click higher up, click again, and just like that, very easily, relative to this central point I had, I can draw a lot of lines. Another command we have is the Xline command, which is XL. This is similar to the previous command ray, but it's infinite in both directions. So I just need to click once, see it draws the line infinitely in both directions. Now you just need to click, for example, click horizontally, click vertically, or click in different angled directions. So far I haven't talked about finding angles in Revit. In future videos, we'll also talk about finding different angles in Revit, which is very important and you might not know about. Alright, so that was the Xline command. But we have another command called multiline, so I definitely invite you to watch the next video. In the next session, we'll talk about multiline. Some people use it for drawing walls. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson. See you in the next tutorial.